His phone rang. The red numbers on his desk clock read 3:47 p.m. Emma should have been home from soccer practice by now. His wife, Kendra's voice came through strained and panicked. "Victor, there's been an accident. Emma's in the hospital." The papers scattered across the floor as Victor shot up from his chair. 20 minutes later, he was racing through the corridors of St. Mary's Hospital, his heart hammering against his ribs. He found Kendra in the waiting room. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, clutching a tissue. She was crossing at the light after practice. Kendra whispered. Some kid in a sports car ran the red light going at least 50, hit her, and just drove off. A witness got the license plate. Victor's jaw tightened. In his 15 years of teaching, high school history, he'd learned to control his temper, but the old instincts from his past life were stirring. Instincts he'd buried deep when he chose to become a teacher instead of continuing his work with the agency. Dr. Lillian Meadows emerged from the trauma bay, her surgical scrubs still damp. Mr. and Mrs. Parsons, Emma stable, broken ribs, a concussion, and some internal bleeding that we've managed to control. She's lucky. It could have been much worse. Relief flooded through Victor, but it was quickly replaced by a cold, calculated anger. "Doctor, when can we see her? She's sleeping now. The sedatives will keep her comfortable through the night. You can see her in the morning." As they walked to the parking garage, Detective Jerry Dixon approached them. He was a thin man with kind eyes, but Victor could see the frustration written across his face. "Mr. Parsons, I wanted to update you personally. We traced the license plate. The car belongs to Kyle Sutton, son of Gordon Sutton, the CEO of Sutton Industries. The thing is," Dixon paused, clearly uncomfortable. "The kid's not talking, claims he was home all day, and his father's already got a team of lawyers involved. Witnesses saw him," Kendra said, her voice rising. "I know, ma'am, but Sutton's lawyers are claiming mistaken identity, and they're pushing hard for the case to be dismissed. Word is, Gordon Sutton has significant influence in this town." Victor studied the detective's face. He recognized the look. A good cop hitting a wall of corruption and power. "What aren't you telling us, detective?" Dixon glanced around, then lowered his voice. "Between you and me, this isn't the first time Kyle Sutton's been in trouble. DUI last year. Assault charges dropped 6 months ago. His daddy always makes it go away. The Sutton own half the city, including some people who should know better." That night, Victor sat in Emma's hospital room watching his daughter sleep. Tubes and wires connected her small body to various machines, and a massive bruise covered the left side of her face. Kendra had finally gone home to shower and change clothes. He pulled out his phone and made a call to a number he hadn't dialed in 5 years. "Nathaniel Kemp here." "Nate, it's Victor." A pause. "Victor Parsons." "Well, I'll be damned. Thought you'd gone completely civilian on us." "I did. I am, but I need a favor." "Name it." "Gordon Sutton. Sutton Industries." "What do you know?" "Enough to know you don't want to mess with him without good reason." "What's this about?" Victor told him about Emma, about Kyle, about the threats to make it all disappear. When he finished, there was a long silence on the other end. "Jesus, Victor, I'm sorry. How's your girl? She'll recover. But Sutton thinks his money and connections make him untouchable." "They might. The man's got politicians, judges, and half the police force in his pocket. He's also ruthless. Built his empire by crushing anyone who got in his way. Then he's about to learn what happens when he crushes the wrong family." Chapter 2. The Ultimatum. The next morning, Emma was awake and asking for her father. Victor held her hand as she described the accident. The green light, the roar of an engine, then nothing until she woke up in the hospital. Her soccer uniform was cut away in the emergency room, but she still wore her lucky bracelet, the one Victor had given her for her 13th birthday. "Dad, are they going to catch the person who hit me?" Victor squeezed her hand gently. "Yes, sweetheart. I promise you that." At noon, Detective Dixon called with worse news. The DA's office just called. They're not filing charges. Insufficient evidence. They say the witness testimony isn't strong enough, and without Kyle Sutton's confession or additional evidence, they can't proceed. I see. Victor's voice was eerily calm. Mr. Parsons, I want you to know that some of us tried. There are good people in this department who are disgusted by this, but I understand, Detective. Thank you for trying. Victor drove to downtown to the gleaming 40-story tower that housed Sutton Industries. The lobby was marble and glass designed to intimidate. He took the elevator to the top floor where Gordon Sutton's executive assistant, Beverly Chambers, sat behind a massive desk. I need to see Mr. Sutton, Victor said calmly. Do you have an appointment? Mr. Sutton is extremely busy. Tell him Victor Parsons is here about his son Kyle and my daughter Emma. Beverly's professional smile faltered. She picked up her phone, spoke quietly, then hung up. Mr. Sutton will see you now. Gordon Sutton's office occupied half the top floor with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The man himself was tall and broad with silver hair and expensive clothes that couldn't hide the cruelty in his eyes. He didn't stand when Victor entered. Mr. Parsons, I understand you're upset about this unfortunate situation with your daughter. Situation. Victor's voice remained level. Your son nearly killed a 13-year-old girl and fled the scene. Gordon waved dismissively. Alleged, and even if Kyle was involved, which I'm not saying he was, boys will be boys. Accidents happen. This wasn't an accident. This was criminal negligence at minimum. Now, see here, Gordon stood, his voice hardening. I've been patient because I understand you're emotional, but my son has diplomatic immunity through my business connections overseas. Even if charges were filed, which they won't be, nothing would stick. I own Judge Theodore Cherry, who would hear this case. I suggest you take the insurance settlement my lawyers will offer and move on. Victor stepped closer to the desk. You have no idea who you're talking to. Gordon laughed, a harsh sound. You're a high school teacher from the suburbs. I know exactly who I'm talking to. Nobody. You have 10 minutes to call the police and arrange for Kyle to turn himself in. The laughter grew louder. Or what? You'll sue me? File a complaint? I've crushed men twice your size for half as much insolence. Victor checked his watch. 9 minutes and 40 seconds. Security, Gordon called. That won't be necessary, Victor said, heading for the door. You'll be hearing from me soon. As the elevator descended, Victor was already making calls. The first was to Nate. I need everything you have on Gordon Sutton. Financial records, business dealings, personal life, everything. Victor, what are you planning? Justice. Chapter 3. The Gathering Storm. Back in his study that evening, Victor opened his laptop and began typing. On the surface, Victor Parsons was a beloved history teacher at Lincoln High School, husband to librarian Kendra, and father to soccer-playing Emma. But before he'd chosen this quiet life, he'd been something else entirely. For 12 years, Victor had worked for a classified division of the Defense Intelligence Agency, specializing in extracting information and assets from hostile territories. He spoke 6 languages, could kill a man in 17 different ways, and had once brought down a corrupt general in Eastern Europe using nothing but patience and the man's own greed. He'd retired when Emma was born, wanting to give his daughter a normal life with a father who came home every night. The agency had been reluctant to let him go. Men with his skills were rare, but they'd agreed on the condition that he remained available for extreme circumstances. Disqualified. His phone rang. Nate's voice was grim. I've got the preliminary report on Sutton. Victor, this guy's worse than we thought. Sutton Industries is clean on the surface, but there are shell companies, offshore accounts, and some very questionable government contracts. What kind of contracts? Arms dealing primarily. Nothing technically illegal, but he's been selling to some gray area clients. There's also evidence of bribing foreign officials, price fixing, and intimidating competitors. The man's built an empire on corruption. What about his personal life? Divorced twice, both wives received significant settlements with ironclad NDAs. Kyle's only son, spoiled rotten since birth. The kids got a record of drunk driving, assault, and there are rumors about worse things that never made it to court. Victor made notes. Anything else? Yeah, Gordon's got a brother, Eugene Sutton, who runs the legal side of things. Former prosecutor who went private. Word is he's just as dirty as Gordon, but twice as smart. If you're going after this family, you're taking on both of them. After hanging up, Victor pulled out a secure phone, one that technically didn't exist. He dialed a number in Washington. Theodore Cherry, a voice answered. Judge Cherry, this is Victor Parsons. I believe you know why I'm calling. A nervous laugh. I'm sorry, Mr. Parsons, but I don't know what you mean. 48 hours ago, my daughter was nearly killed by Kyle Sutton. Today, Gordon Sutton bragged to me that he owns you. Now, I could report this conversation to the FBI's Public Corruption Unit, but I thought I'd give you a chance to explain. The line went quiet for a long moment. Mr. Parsons, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Judge Cherry, in 2019, you received a loan of $400,000 from a subsidiary of Sutton Industries to buy your vacation home in the Hamptons. The loan was forgiven 8 months later, just before you dismissed charges against Kyle Sutton for his first DUI. Should I continue? Who are you? I'm a father seeking justice for his daughter. You have 24 hours to recuse yourself from any Sutton-related cases and announce your early retirement due to health reasons. If you don't, that conversation you just had with Gordon Sutton about dismissing any charges against Kyle will be played on every news station in the state. I never had any conversation. Judge Cherry, I have recordings. Good evening. Victor hung up and called Detective Dixon. Detective, hypothetically, if new evidence emerged in the Emma Parsons hit-and-run case, would you be willing to pursue it? Absolutely. But Mr. Parsons, without additional witnesses or physical evidence, what if I told you that Kyle Sutton's car has front-end damage that he's trying to hide? I need to see that car to confirm it matches the accident scene. What if I also told you that there's security footage from a traffic camera that clearly shows Kyle's face behind the wheel? That would change everything. But we checked all the traffic cameras. You checked the city cameras. You didn't check the private security system at the bank on the corner, the one that automatically uploads to a cloud server that Gordon Sutton can't touch. There was excitement in Dixon's voice now. Can you get me that footage? Detective, that footage will be delivered to your desk tomorrow morning at 9 WAQRD, M, along with photos of Kyle Sutton, his damaged vehicle, and a witness who will testify that Gordon Sutton asked him to destroy evidence. Mr. Parsons, how exactly are you obtaining this evidence? Let's just say I have a very particular set of skills, detective skills I've acquired over a long career, skills that make me a nightmare for people like Gordon Sutton. As Victor hung up, he smiled for the first time since the accident. Phase 1 was complete. Judge Cherry would be out of the picture by morning, and the real evidence would soon surface. But that was just the beginning. Gordon Sutton wanted to play games with a high school teacher. He was about to discover he was actually playing chess with a grandmaster. Chapter 4. The Web Tightens. Gordon Sutton was enjoying his morning coffee and reading the Wall Street Journal when his assistant burst into his office, her face pale. Mr. Sutton. Judge Cherry just announced his retirement. Effective immediately. He's citing health concerns. Gordon set down his cup slowly. Health concerns. He was fine yesterday. There's more. Detective Dixon just showed up with a warrant to inspect Kyle's car. That's impossible, Cherry assured me. Sir, Judge Cherry isn't involved anymore. The warrant came from Judge Faith Pierce. She's not one of ours. Gordon's face darkened. He grabbed his phone and dialed his son's number. It went straight to voicemail. Kyle, call me immediately. Do not speak to anyone until you talk to me. His next call was to his brother, Eugene. We have a problem. I know. I'm watching the news. They have security footage. Gordon, clear footage of Kyle behind the wheel running that red light. How's that possible? I had my people check every camera in a 6-block radius. It came from the First National Bank's private security system. Apparently, this Victor Parsons knew exactly where to look. Gordon paced behind his desk. Who the hell is this guy? Run a background check. Full spectrum. I want to know everything from his birth certificate to his tax returns. Already on it, but Gordon, we need to get ahead of this. Kyle needs to turn himself in with our lawyers present. Negotiate a plea deal. Absolutely not. I don't care what it costs. Kyle is not going to prison. The evidence is overwhelming. If we fight this and lose, then we make sure we don't lose. An hour later, Eugene Sutton arrived at his brother's office with a thick file. His face was grim. Gordon, we have a bigger problem than I thought. What did you find? Victor Parsons isn't just a teacher. He's former DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, classified operations for 12 years before he retired. The details are heavily redacted, but I managed to piece together enough through my contacts. This man has training in psychological operations, electronic surveillance, and asset extraction. Gordon felt a chill run down his spine. Asset extraction. He specialized in getting information and people out of hostile territories. One case I found involved him single-handedly exposing a corruption ring in the Balkans that reached up to the prime minister level. Another time, he dismantled a human trafficking operation by turning the criminals against each other. You threatened a man who's trained to bring down governments, and you gave him motivation. Before Gordon could respond, Beverly rushed in. Mr. Sutton, the FBI is here. They want to speak with you about your government contracts. What? That's impossible. Those contracts are sealed. Sir, they have documents, financial records. They're asking about bribes to foreign officials and illegal arms sales. Eugene grabbed his brother's arm. How could they have gotten those records? They're kept in a secure server. Gordon's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID. Unknown number. Mr. Sutton. The voice was calm, measured. Victor Parsons, you son of a... What did you do? I kept my promise. You had 10 minutes to turn Kyle in. You chose to laugh instead. Now you're discovering what happens when you cross someone who knows how to fight back. You can't touch me. I have connections. Had connections. Judge Cherry retired this morning. Your FBI contacts are currently being investigated for corruption. And those arms-dealing contracts you thought were secret? They're being reviewed by a Congressional Oversight Committee as we speak. Gordon's hands were shaking. What do you want? Kyle turns himself in. Full confession, no plea deals, no reduced. Charges. He serves time proportional to his crime. That's impossible. I won't let my son. Mr. Sutton, you still don't understand. This isn't a negotiation, this is a reckoning. You've spent 20 years believing that money and influence make you untouchable. I'm here to prove you wrong. The line went dead. Chapter 5. Unraveling. Meanwhile, across town, Eugene Sutton was having the worst day of his legal career. 3 of his biggest clients had terminated their contracts after the FBI raids made headlines. His private phone rang, the one only family used. "Eugene, we need to meet." Gordon's voice was strained. "The club? No. Somewhere secure. Murphy's Storage on Industrial Boulevard, Unit 247. 1 hour." Use every resource we have left. What resources? Half our security team just quit. The other half is under investigation. The private investigators we usually use won't return our calls. Gordon's phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. Check the news. They turned on the small TV in the storage unit. A breaking news banner scrolled across the screen. "CEO's son surrenders in hit-and-run case." The reporter's voice filled the small space. That left 13-year-old Emma Parsons hospitalized. Sources close to the investigation say Sutton provided a full confession and is cooperating with authorities. Gordon sank into a chair. He turned himself in. How? Why would he do that? Eugene's phone rang. The caller ID showed Kyle's number. "Kyle, where are you?" "Uncle Eugene, I'm in jail. They arrested me after I gave my statement. I told them everything." "Kyle, what did you do?" "I told them about the cocaine, about running the red light, about Dad telling me to hide the car. I'm sorry, but they had evidence. They knew everything already." Eugene looked at his brother, whose face had gone ashen. "Kyle, don't say another word until I get there. Uncle Eugene, there's something else. The man who convinced me to turn myself in. He gave me a message for Dad." "What message?" "He said, 'Dad has 8 minutes left.'" The line went dead. Eugene checked his watch. 9:52 p.m. "Gordon, what did you tell this person's character exactly?" "I told him Kyle had immunity, that I own the judge, that he should take a settlement and disappear. And what did he say? He gave me 10 minutes to turn Kyle in, or else." Eugene started calculating. "Gordon, that was yesterday, at approximately 2 p.m. It's been nearly 32 hours. So this entire day, the FBI raids, the frozen accounts, Kyle's surrender, this has all been orchestrated. This isn't reactive. It's planned. Professional." Gordon's phone rang again. Victor Parsons. "Time's up, Mr. Sutton." Chapter 6. The Price of Arrogance. "What do you want?" Gordon's voice cracked with desperation. Kyle's full confession was just the beginning. Victor's voice came through clear and cold. "In the next hour, you're going to discover exactly what happens when you threaten my family. I'll pay you whatever you want. Name your price. The price isn't money, Mr. Sutton. The price is everything you've built on corruption and intimidation." The line went dead, and immediately Gordon's phone rang again. This time, it was his lawyer, Hugh Ferris. "Gordon, we have a crisis. The Department of Justice just filed a RICO case against Sutton Industries. They're alleging racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy. They want to seize everything. Based on what evidence? Internal documents, financial records, recorded conversations. Gordon, some of these recordings are from your private office. Someone's been listening to your calls for months." Eugene grabbed the phone from his brother. "You, this is Eugene. How is that possible? Our office is swept for bugs weekly. Eugene, this isn't physical surveillance. Someone hacked your digital infrastructure. All of it. Phones, computers, security systems, even your personal devices. They have access to everything. Gordon stumbled backward. That's impossible. We use military-grade encryption. Not anymore. You don't. As of tonight, Sutton Industries is under federal receiver HIP pending investigation. You're both barred from your offices, and the company assets are frozen. After Hugh hung up, the brothers sat in stunned silence. Then Eugene's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, Unit 249. Now they walked to the adjacent storage unit, which was standing open. Inside sat Victor Parsons in a folding chair, a laptop open on a small table beside him. Behind him stood two other men, clearly military or ex-military based on their bearing. Mr. Sutton, Mr. Sutton. Victor nodded to each brother. Please sit. How did you? Gordon started. Know you'd be here. I've been monitoring your communications since yesterday. This storage unit belongs to one of your shell companies, the same one you used to hide assets from the IRS. Eugene found his voice. What do you want from us? Nothing you're capable of giving, unfortunately. You see, when your brother threatened me, he assumed I was powerless. But power isn't about money or political connections. Real power is about competence, preparation, and having the right friends. Victor gestured to the men behind him. Meet Everett Pard and Mark Galvin. Everett used to work NSA cyber operations. Mark specialized in financial crimes for the Treasury Department. They owed me some favors. You can't destroy us, Gordon said. But his voice lacked conviction. I already have. The federal case against your company will result in criminal convictions for both of you. Kay will serve his time in prison. Your political connections are being investigated for corruption. Your offshore accounts have been seized under anti-terrorism statutes. Eugene leaned forward. There has to be something we can do, some way to negotiate. Victor's expression didn't change. Mr. Eugene Sutton, you've spent your career helping your brother escape consequences for his actions. You've intimidated witnesses, bribed officials, and perverted justice for profit. Did you really think there would never be a reckoning? We can pay you with what? Your accounts are frozen. Your assets are under federal control. Your son is in jail, and you're about to join him. Gordon suddenly lunged forward. You destroyed my family. The two men behind Victor moved like lightning, restraining Gordon before he could reach the table. Victor didn't even flinch. Mr. Sutton, you destroyed your own family the moment you raised a son who thought he could hurt innocent people without consequences. I simply removed the protection that allowed it to continue. Victor closed his laptop and stood. Gentlemen, I suggest you contact your lawyers. You're going to need them. As they reached the exit, Victor paused. Teacher, who simply smiled. Robbie, anyone can be a hero. It just requires recognizing when something is wrong and having the courage to act. Heroes aren't born special. They're ordinary people who choose to do extraordinary things when it matters most. But some people have more power than others. Another student, Maggie Wall, pointed out, "Rich people like that Sutton guy can do whatever they want." "Can they?" Victor asked. "What happened to Gordon Sutton?" "He went to prison," Maggie said. "And why did that happen?" The students thought for a moment. Finally, a quiet student named Ben Chavez spoke up because someone stood up to him. Someone who wasn't afraid. Exactly. Power isn't about money or connections. Real power comes from knowledge, preparation, and the willingness to fight for what's right. The Sutton thought they were untouchable because no one had ever seriously challenged them. They confused influence with invincibility. After class, Victor walked to his car, enjoying the warm, spring sunshine. His phone buzzed with a text from Emma. "Dad, Coach says I might make varsity next year. See you at home." He smiled and typed back, "I'm proud of you, sweetheart. See you soon." As he drove home, Victor reflected on the past year. The Sutton empire was gone, dismantled piece by piece through legal channels and proper authorities. Kyle was serving his sentence and, according to reports, had become a model prisoner who counseled other inmates about the dangers of drunk driving. Gordon Sutton was in federal prison where his former victims occasionally sent him letters not of forgiveness but of closure. Eugene had been disbarred and was serving his sentence in a minimum security facility, spending his time teaching legal literacy to fellow inmates. The corruption network they'd exposed had led to 17 convictions and completely reformed the city's government. Judge Faith Pierce had been elevated to the state Supreme Court and Detective Dixon had been promoted to captain. Emma had recovered fully, her only scar a thin line on her left arm that she wore like a badge of honor. "Dad gave me this," she'd tell her friends when he fought the bad guys and won. But the real victory wasn't the destruction of the Sutton or the cleanup of corruption in the city. The real victory was that Victor had proven something important, that justice didn't require vengeance, that strength didn't require cruelty, and that sometimes the most powerful weapon against evil was simply the refusal to be intimidated. As he pulled into his driveway, Victor saw Emma and Kendra playing with their dog in the backyard. This was his world now. Not the shadows of international espionage, but the sunshine of an ordinary life made extraordinary by the people who shared it. His secure phone buzzed one last time. A message from an unknown number. "Thank you for teaching my son about consequences. Gordon Sutton." Victor deleted the message and put the phone away. Some lessons, he reflected, were harder than others. But in the end, everyone could learn if they were willing to pay the price. The teacher walked into his house, hugged his family, and never looked back. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel.